So I spent the last couple of nights catching up on a show called Barry that's currently on HBO. It runs 8 episodes a season. It is in the 5th season of its 2nd season at the moment. They're about 30 minutes long. It stars Bill Hader, and it is about a hitman who wants to get out of that life and pursue a career in acting on stage. And now, this was a show that was recommended to me by a buddy of mine named Matthew Furman. I heard about it from plenty of people, but he was really pushing it hard, and he's someone who is a critic, let me tell you what. He doesn't like a whole bunch. Stuff I love and stuff that I'm just like, how do you not like this? So anytime he says something's incredible, I'm just like, okay, I gotta check this out. If it gets his stamp of approval, then I definitely got to check it out. And what happened was Game of Thrones season 8 episode 3 aired, Endgame came out, and this new episode of Barry came out the same night as the Game of Thrones episode. And he was like, oh, everyone's so crazy about Endgame and Game of Thrones right now. Like, did anyone see the last night's episode of Barry? It's like the best freaking television episode I've seen like ever or something crazy. And I was like, all right, I got to watch this show. Bill Hader's someone who I'm familiar with. I've definitely seen him in some stuff, but not somebody I'm particularly in love with or anything. It's not like I check out everything he does by any means. But I have to say, man, this show is great. Now, I will say that this is comedy first, but there's definitely a good amount of drama as well. I will also say that this show doesn't really exist in reality. It's that like toe outside of reality. Like there's things that happen. You can't really, break this thing down logically, because Barry would absolutely get caught for being a hitman, the way he leaves stuff and the way everything goes down in this. There's so many times where it's like, oh, come on, what happens, and what, you got to kind of throw that aside. There are some things within this show, especially on the last episode, tonight's episode. This is an episode that is either getting completely loved or completely hated. Mostly I see love, but man, the people who hate it are just like, the show fucking went too far. It's, it jumped the shark, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, this episode definitely steps its whole foot outside the possibility of reality, but for comedic purposes, and man, does it work oh so well. There's a little girl in the episode, and that's all I'm going to say, but she is fucking hilarious what they do with her. That's episode 5 of season 2. So it's going to be a little while, but that'll be fully caught up. You can catch up in this thing in a freaking day if you really want to. It would only take like 5.5 hours. So it's not a ton of viewing, but man, it really is great. Barry, played by Bill Hader, is a very complex character. And it slightly reminds me of something like Dexter. It's a dark comedy that plays with a guy who kills people and is trying to be a good guy. It does feel Dexter-ish. So if you've been missing Dexter and you wanted something to replace it, this isn't a replacement, of course, because no show is ever a replacement for anything else. And to compare two shows is always difficult. And also kind of like shooting yourself in the foot, because when you tell people, oh, it's like this, and they're like, oh, well, I want that then. And when they don't get exactly that, then they get their hopes up and they dismiss the show, even though it's a great show, or maybe they would have liked it if they didn't have that, but for that comparison. But I do have to kind of make that comparison, because I do feel like there's similar themes, similar tones going on here, where Dexter isn't always believable, and it doesn't always stick within reality. Characters make decisions. Characters are a little more loose with reality within the show. So as I said, you can't look at the show too logically, but overall it's a very funny show with great characters. You've got Henry Winkler in here, who plays the acting coach. You've got the guy Stephen Root or something, the guy who plays Milton in Office Space, and he's been in tons of other things, Dodgeball and whatnot. He plays Barry's agent, I guess. I don't know what the hell they call this guy, the guy who sets up the hits for him, his boss. But yeah, they have a very weird dynamic between them. Very funny, but very, very, very interesting. And then also we have a lot of familiar faces that I don't know their names, but as soon as I see them, I'm like, hey, you're the guy from Just Friends, the brother of Ryan Reynolds' character, which I love. Just Friends. That's like one of my favorite comedies of all time. Chris Brander. What's his brother's name? I can't remember. Doesn't matter. But fuck, I love that movie. But yeah, you got him, and then you got a whole bunch of familiar faces. I'm gonna go through everybody, but and Victor Zsasz from freaking Gotham. I love that guy, and he might be my favorite character in this damn show. He's this like Russian mob guy, and he's like the nicest guy, but he's trying to be gangster, and the way he plays that character is really endearing and cute and funny as all hell, and I just love him in this show, and I love him in Gotham. So I do really like this actor, and I like his portrayal in this show. But yeah, I highly recommend the shit out of this show. I very much am looking forward to Sunday's episode right after Game of Thrones, and then Barry. That's going to be a kick-ass double feature. I look forward to both heavily. So if you have HBO, absolutely check this out. If you haven't yet, it's a damn good time and absolutely worth your time there. So let me know if you guys checked it out. Let me know if you've already seen it, and if you liked last week's episode, because I thought it was fucking hysterical. I have really enjoyed or loved every episode. I think that this show is really well written. It's written and directed by Bill Hader most of the time, so this really is his project. It's his show, and man, his talent shines through for sure. This is a must-see, and I hope a lot of people are watching it. It already has been renewed for a third season, so someone's watching it, which is good because it deserves the attention. And just wanted to recommend it to you guys. Let me know. All right.